Well, good morning. Here it is. It's Friday morning. We've made it to the end of another week. We're right here on the threshold of another weekend, and of course today is March the 28th. Had to make sure I'd already looked, but anyway, March the 28th. And anyway, hope you had a great Thursday. I hope that you had a wonderful day. Hopefully. Maybe you even got to enjoy the weather just a little bit, but anyway, now, God He's blessed us with the breath to breathe here on this Friday morning, another day of opportunities. And I certainly hope and pray that this morning finds you feeling well. Hope it finds you well rested and ready to tackle the great opportunities that God has richly blessed us with here on this Friday morning. This morning, I'd like to share a devotion with you entitled, When God Says No. 1 Chronicles chapter 28, verse 3. It says, But God said to me, You must not build a temple to honor my name, for you are a warrior and have shed much blood. Let me ask, what is the purpose in life? I think for some people, it's just long life. Now, that's not a bad thing to aspire to, but, long life is not really the objective. Fulfilling God's purpose in your life is the objective. Life isn't measured by, duration, but by donation. What have you donated? What have you done with your life? There must come a moment when, we pass from money to meaning, from possessions to purpose, from success to significance. For David, that moment came when he decided to build a temple for the Lord. In those days, God's Spirit dwelled among his people in the Ark of the Covenant, and the Ark was kept in the tabernacle, which at that time was a tent. Now, David had trouble reconciling the fact that, God's Spirit dwelled in a tent while he lived in a palace. He didn't like that idea. And, David, he wanted to build a house for the Lord. And so he had set aside, the necessary funds, and he had gathered the necessary building supplies. David's request was valid. His heart was in the right place. He was a man after God's own heart. He wanted to give back to God for all that God had given him. But there was just one hitch. God said no. He answered David through the prophet Nathan in 2 Samuel chapter 7, verses 1 through 7, if you want to go read it. God reminded David, that he had never asked for a house. He didn't need to be protected from the elements. He controlled the elements. David's timing was off. The temple would be built, but not during his lifetime. His perspective was off as well. He saw himself as the right person for the job. He didn't see he didn't see himself as God saw him. Now look, if you look again at the passage that we read to begin with in 1 Chronicles 28, verse 3, you see David was a warrior king. He had too much blood on his hands. David learned a hard, valuable lesson, that day. Sometimes God says go. Sometimes God says grow. Sometimes God says slow. But sometimes God says no. God revealed his reason for saying no to David. He always has his reasons, and they're always perfect, but he doesn't always reveal them. Maybe you've discovered that yourself in your own life. Maybe you had dreams that, you didn't realize. Maybe you dreamed, of a successful ministry and it didn't happen. Maybe you dreamed of greater success in business and it didn't happen. Maybe you dreamed of romance and marriage and it didn't happen. Maybe you feel God has let you down. If so, look at what David did in his situation. Instead of sulking or, pleading with God, he wisely pivoted to what God had done for him. In the very next verse, in 1 Chronicles 28, verse 4, he says, Yet the Lord, the God of Israel, has chosen me from among all my father's family to be king over Israel forever. See, in other words, he said, I want to talk about what God said yes to, not what he said no to. Have you ever said to the Lord, here's the way I think you ought to work, but not my will, but yours be done. Some might say, well, I'm not going to say that to God. I mean, if I say that, he's going to make me, do something, I don't want to do. I believe a person who believes that has a warped concept of God, a misconception that his will is always going to be something, undesirable. God may be saying no. I mean, to something you have asked for, because he wants to give you something, far better than what you could ask or think. Don't be afraid to let your Father choose for you, because he knows what's best for all of us. And so concentrate on that fact. He always knows what's best. Here's the question I want to leave with you this morning to reflect on today. How can you stay faithful to God after he says no to a prayer request? Think about that today as you go about your day, and hope you have a wonderful day. But as always on Friday, if you find yourself close to Hydro on Sunday morning and you don't have a place to worship, come join us at Hydro First Baptist Church. We would dearly love for you to come and worship with us and spend time with us. But anyway, remember, Angie and I, we love you guys, and we're praying for you. And Lord willing, I'll see you soon. God bless you.